It's Driver's Seat with Tony Whitney and Nancy Gertson.
This week I test a new pickup that looks so mean it's bound to get respect, but will it get sales? Nancy.
And I test the very definition of a sports car. It's not as if we put you in the driver's seat.
Brought to you in part by the helpful people at Shell, makers of Formula Shell, and Young Drivers of Canada, your license to survive. And now, Driver's Seat.
Good afternoon and welcome to Driver's Seat. This week we're testing two vehicles that couldn't possibly be any more different. Later I'll be doing Mazda's Miata convertible, but right now, here's Tony with the Dodge Ram.
Well, Nancy, you know, I've never owned a pickup truck, but over the last 10 years I've driven dozens of them, so let's see what I thought about the Dodge Ram. Is this a face only a trucker could love, or is it the neatest thing to happen to pickup trucks in years? For my money, the new Dodge Ram stands out from a crowd of lookalikes, and I love it. In complete contrast to pickup building rivals, Dodge decided to look back for inspiration when it styled its new Ram range. The 94 Ram uses styling themes from the 40s and 50s, and ends up looking like nothing we've seen in years. When you've got one of these in your rearview mirror, you really know it's a new Ram. Our tester was a Ram 1500 Laramie SLT with a 5.2-litre Magnum V8 engine, developing 220 horsepower. A mighty 8-litre V10. Also in the range has been automatic transmission with a dash-mounted overdrive switch. Four-wheel drive is engaged with a floor-mounted transfer box shifter. There's no extended cab version yet, but it is on the way. The Kenworth nose job will make you feel right at home down at the local truck stop. But let's forget styling for a while and look at practicality. Now, after complaining with pickup trucks, this time we've got them. Dodge. Another good point, these pressings in the box walls are intended to take 2-inch lumber, so the owner can create a kind of divider system for different loads on board the truck. It's the kind of thing Dodge has thought of that puts this one apart from the competition, in my view. The Ram is a big truck, make no mistake about that, but we must remember that this is the kind of rig people earn their living with. It rides very well and will haul a substantial payload too. Parking is no easy task in urban areas, but it comes into its own at the job site, with plenty of ground clearance and excellent visibility from the cab. Our truck was fitted with the optional chrome wheels that I found attractive and easy to keep clean. They're also less likely to chip in rugged use than cast aluminum units. It's a bit of a step up to get into a new Ram, but once inside, there's lots of great things to see. Look at this, for example, a complete modular bin system behind the seats. This is the sort of thing we've been waiting for years in pickup trucks. We've also got this, what Dodge calls its office equipment center. This will take a laptop computer here, odds and ends around the bins here, cellular phone. It's the sort of thing today's contractors who use a lot of electronic equipment really need. The steering wheel, well, it's one of the best in the business. Instrument panel, looks like a sports car. We've got this here, drinks holder, and even an auxiliary power outlet. Very handy. With its powerful 5.2-litre V8, this particular Ram has a maximum trailer weight rating of 5,000 pounds with the appropriate option package. Fuel economy is estimated at around 15 litres per 100 kilometres combined. Price of our tester was $25,725. Base price of this model is just under $20,000. What we've got here is another example of Chrysler jumping ahead of the competition, because I think this is the truck to beat right now. Ford and General Motors have a little bit of catching up to do.
Well, Tony, I think with the Dodge Ram, Chrysler is definitely butting heads with Ford and GM this time.
Well, I think so. Quite honestly, my feeling about this truck is if you can find a better one, go for it, because I just think it's the best truck in the market right now. I know it's the newest, but it's a very, very neat truck, and the detailing, the thoughtfulness that goes behind this truck is just amazing.
Well, there's a lot of areas to cover. I mean, the four-wheel anti-lock brakes on a full-size pickup is new. The 40-20-40 split on the front seat is a new thing. A driver's side airbag is new. all these things that the Ram has going for it, never to mind the looks. I mean, it really has that big rig look with the
well,
chrome
that's true,
and fat fenders.
I love the way it looks. You know, the first time I saw one, I didn't like it, and I thought, what is this? What are they doing? And I saw the introduction there and so on. But I've grown to love it. I think it's great, and truckers, and well, just about everybody seems to like it. I've not really met anybody who said, I don't like the look of that.
Yeah. Getting to your point, if you are my size, you have to grab the steering wheel, frame, and then getting out, you have to slither out inevitably in wet weather. Your pants
Well, it's
are
pretty
wet.
tough, and
It is
yeah.
tricky.
It's very hard to get in and out of. I'd certainly live with it.
Yeah.
I should mention that Chrysler does have available a step, an accessory step that you can buy and fit to both sides.
Yeah, you have to drag it around with you.
Well, no, not that kind of step. that bolts into the door, yeah, and it's fine. It works very well, and I think that, I guess if I was buying one, I'd probably go for that. But I like the basic truck.
Yeah, well, let's talk about the engine. This one has the 5.2-liter V8, and this is the engine combination that they are probably going to sell the most of. I liked it. There was a lot of takeoff off the line. Sitting at idle, it was unbelievably quiet, but as you got going, there's no mistaking there's a V8 under the hood.
Well, that's true, and of course the engine options are phenomenal because you can get an 8-liter V10, which is almost like the Viper engine. I mean, it's an unbelievable motor, and of course the Cummins turbo diesel, which is a real hauler. I mean, for people that are hauling things like motorhomes, this is the one to buy if you're towing a fifth-wheel motorhome, which I have done with this vehicle.
Yeah, and a lot of people will be interested in the Cummins engine. One thing about the cab being, it is remarkable, the layout with the center console, the 40-20-40 split. All of that was remarkable. It was hard to remember that it wasn't an extended cab. If you had the extra room behind the seats, you could recline the seats, which is great for someone
Usually
himself.
there's no room at all. If you've got anything with you, even a map in so many pickup trucks, it sits on the passenger seat, and the first time you put your foot on the brake, it flies onto the floor. Yeah. So this is very, very well planned and very well laid out, and there just isn't anything better.
Well, I want to make another comment about the airbags. Having an airbag in a full-size pickup truck that's meant for hard work is an interesting combination, and there's a lot of special consideration that goes into that, as you know.
Oh, yeah, it's a good feature.
To determine that, you know, bumping up to a curb isn't going to set the airbag off. So there's a lot of special
it's not. You can't just bang one into the wheel there. There's a lot of factors that move into that. Okay, time now for red light, green light, things I didn't like about the Dodge Ram T-300. High step up, well, I'd live with it, but it's kind of tough. On the other hand, the looks, I love the way it looks, and I love the box features. The hauling capacity is wonderful, and the cab design is simply the best in the business. If you're in the market for a full-size pickup, there's not really that much out there. There's lots of different versions of the Ford F-Series, the Chevy and GMC C and K Series, and I guess, Nancy, we should throw in the Toyota T-100.
I guess we should. What's your driving dollar value?
Got to give it a full tank. I reiterate, it's the best truck in the business. Full tank from me, no question about that.
Well, it was manly, but I like it too. Coming up behind the wheel, a preview of a new car and a special story on retrofit airbags. Stay with us.
We're back with our consumer segment, and first a preview of a new Toyota. The Avalon is a significantly larger car than the Cressida, which it replaces. It's based on a stretched version of the Camry platform. Now, this is the very first Japanese car to offer 6-passenger seating with an optional power split-bench front seat. The Avalon is classified as a large car. Toyota proudly tells us that it has more front and rear headroom, more total legroom, and almost as much total passenger space as a Chrysler Intrepid, even though the Avalon's overall length is nearly a foot shorter. The engine is an all-new aluminum V6, putting out 192 horsepower. It's a beefed-up version of the new 3-liter Camry engine. In addition to this XLS model, there'll also be a less luxurious XL edition. Both feature dual front airbags, a 3-point seat belt for the center rear passenger, and rear seat covers from Lexus owners. But you can bet they're hoping to lure North American buyers away.
Luck they have with it. But there you have it, the joy of 6 seats, that is. Now, in answer to the question, is there such a thing as a retrofit airbag? Well, yes, there is, but there's a couple of considerations. Typically, they're made a little bit smaller than the ones we're used to and offer less protection, and they're mechanically censored as opposed to electronically censored. Breed Technologies about $1,000 per, and they're not yet expecting to manufacture them in Canada or offer them in the Canadian market, for that matter. We talked to General Motors and Chrysler about the question of retrofit airbags.
Airbag systems for vehicles. We don't have any commercial interest in it, and we have not been involved in evaluating or advocating that as an aftermarket technology. But certainly it needs to be thoroughly looked at. When we design our vehicles, it's very critical that the sensing system be designed into the front structures so that it can detect the maximum number of crashes where there's a risk of injury to our occupants. And it's a very sophisticated system of sensors, analysis, or computers that look at the crash, and then making the decision to deploy the airbag. Just if you don't know, we have to make the decision to deploy the airbag in a 30-mile-an-hour frontal crash. We have to make that decision in the first 12 miles an hour change of the vehicle. There's a very short amount of time, and we have to do it in a way that it understands the range of real crashes that people can have, not just frontal into a barrier, but into trees and guardrails on the highway. So it's a very complicated environment to have high reliability of the restraint.
Chrysler is not developing retrofit airbags. Each vehicle varies so much in how it behaves in a crash situation that we believe that each vehicle's airbag must be designed with the vehicle in mind. And therefore, the only airbags that we can really endorse are those that come with the vehicle.
Now, it should be said that in Canada, BMW does offer their own retrofit airbag, but it's a full meal deal. It's electronically censored, it's full size, and so on. It's offered on the 3 Series. It costs about $1,300, and it takes just about an hour to install, which isn't bad.
Pretty good. Now, I'd certainly not trust anybody but an original equipment manufacturer to put a system like this in. I think that over the next few years, Nancy, there's going to be some gadget mongers selling so-called retrofit airbags. Beware of them and stick to something like what BMW offers. Stay with us. We'll be right back with the Mazda Miata. We're back, and Nancy, what could possibly be more different than a Ram truck than the car you're going to test now?
Mazda Miata, that's right. It might be the only true roadster out there for under 25 grand. It's not that they don't make them like they used to, it's that they don't make them anymore. Shopping for a classic roadster means having to choose something used and then deciding between bad and worse. If it has a good body, the engine needs work. And if the engine sings, the body's rusted out. And if you can get both, well, then it's priced sky high. Why not just get a Miata? More fun than bungee jumping naked, this responsive little roadster is the ultimate feel-good car. It feels good stick handling your way through rush hour lane changes, parallel parking, heading down the highway, and especially cruising through those curvy bits. Now, if feel-good doesn't sound technical enough to you, well, here's what Mazda officially call it: Kansai engineering. In their words, our deeply held philosophy that a car must go beyond merely. But for many cars, the feel-good factor remains an elusive thing. So how did the Miata hit the mark? Well, for starters, the first bit of feel-good engineering is that this rear-wheel weight distribution, just the kind of figure to slither through those curves. A special frame design to everyday driving, that means there's little vibrating and before they decided on this choice roar. That's not to say it doesn't have a few little idiosyncrasies. They're just not of the classic roadster variety. No problems with engine or electricals here. Just nitpicky things. Like this bullet-style door handle. I'm left-handed, but it's obviously for right-handers. Now, this being a two-seater, you tend to set things on the passenger seat or in the passenger's footwell, and with the park brake up, well, it gets in the way trying to drag things back and forth. I didn't like that. If you're tall, the sun visor might be a adjusting your seat for the visor just so you can see important things like traffic lights. A couple of things I liked. In the center console, there's remote releases for both the trunk and the fuel filler. And an extra button mounted here for the pop-up headlights. After 5 years, the Miata still looks the same, but there are some feel-good enhancements for this year's model, mostly invisible though. A brace bar behind the seat back, improved body rigidity, and a move up from the original 1.6-liter engine to a 1.8-liter double overhead cam 4-cylinder. Not to mention 13 more horses. Power output is 128 horsepower at 6,500 RPM. Fuel economy is 12.3 liters per 100 kilometers in the city and 10.1 on the highway. Prices for the 5-speed start at $20,555. Shifting is spirited and uses a short shifter knob and particularly short throws, 1.8 inches actually if anybody's measuring, and in that respect it reminds me of a joystick. But I sometimes had a hard time finding fourth on the downshift. Not my favorite moment in this car. Since this car is a convertible, the first thing car critics look for is problems with body flex or structural rigidity. How does the Miata measure up? I'll put it like this. The company claims the body structure is so rigid that adding a roof wouldn't make it any stronger. Which is a good thing, because the Miata is a drop-the-top, wind-in-your-face kind of car. You could say the classic Roadster came back, and it's better.
Well, now... Okay.
Well, you know, it's interesting. Nobody else has really tackled this niche. When you think about the competition, who do you think of? I can't really name anyone that's a direct competitor for the Miata.
Well, that's true. There isn't. And, you know, I think that ultimately the Miata will have a very important role in the history of the motor car, because I think it's a unique product. But it's a great product. And, you know, maybe nobody...
engine. I'm not really sure about the change there. I didn't feel much behind the wheel myself. I suppose if you're on a track racing, you might notice a little difference in a 0 to 60, but there wasn't a big difference to me driving it.
It's not a huge difference. There's a little bit more snap there, I think. You know, I mean, I did a lot of miles on the older ones, and, you know, I just felt a little bit more urge, but it's not tremendous. And I'm not one of these people, by the way, that wants a V6 in one of these cars.
No.
I think it's great the way it is, and I think that if they try to change this and submit to some automotive journalist request to have more and more power, it spoils the character of the car.
Yeah, we've heard about monster Miatas where they put the Mustang 5-liter into them. People can do that, but I'm glad that Mazda has stayed with it. It's pretty much the same car it was a few years ago, and I say, why tamper with perfection? It's a great little package.
Well, absolutely. You know, getting into one of these cars is so great because everything's in exactly the right place. The steering wheel's in the right place. I mean, there's an old, well-used expression that automotive journalists use about the gear shift lever being falling easily to hand. Okay, well, this one really does fall easy to hand. Everything about this thing is great.
Well, the handling is what I would describe as intuitive. It knows what it's going to do. It's at the same time, it's a driver's car, but there's that intuitive feel. It just rolls with the curves, and it's just wonderful to drive.
One of the things that I believe about a car like this, you know, you find yourself a twisty road, you can have a lot of fun with a Miata without exceeding the speed limit.
That's right.
You don't have to drive it too fast. It's so agile and nimble. You get the top off, as you did in the pictures there, and I mean, you feel like you're going faster than you are anyway, right?
Yeah,
the wind's blowing around and so on.
Well, that's the whole point of this car. It's fun. You know, we mentioned Kansai engineering, which is feel good. The whole concept is fun, and it's really not a one-only car. If you're a family and this is the car you're looking at, forget it. This is not going to, you know, meet all your requirements. But if it's a second vehicle, well, you can have a lot of fun. You know?
It's a good second car, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's great for those people who can afford to have a station wagon or a 4x4 Sport Ute of some kind and have one of these to back it up is great. Or for young people who just don't need the extra space, but it's really a pure fun car. If I owned one, I'd kind of keep the top off. I'd take the top off permanently, and I'd keep it in my garage and just take it out on sunny days.
Yeah, speaking of which, you can get the hardtop. If you must have a convertible in winter, the hardtop is about, I think, $1,600. It comes
great.
Packaged with a couple of other things. Right. Now, what I didn't like about the Miata, just two small things. The sun visor visibility could be a problem if you're a tall person, and I didn't like the placement of the parking brake. On the upside, handling was wonderful. It's got that feel-good engineering, a lot of fun to drive, and increased horsepower this time around, and the price is always great. In the marketplace, well, it's really hard to say if there's anything that comes up against the Miata, but if you're looking for something with an open top, maybe the Honda Civic Del Sol, and quite possibly the Alfa Romeo Spider if you can find one.
Yeah, which is going to be gone from the marketplace soon. What about driving dollar value? Now, so you must have liked this one.
I liked it a lot. I gave it 7/8 of a tank.
Great. Well, I'd probably concur with that. Okay, stay with us. We'll be back with one of your letters. We're back this time with one of your letters. This week, Stuart McLennan of Lethbridge, Alberta writes, "It'd be nice for those of us who learned the miles per gallon system to have that figure included as a reference." Nancy, I grew up with all this imperial stuff. I steeled myself to be a metric person, and metric.
Continue to do metric. However, we have this little tip. If you find liters per 100 kilometers confusing, try thinking about it this way. If gasoline costs 50 cents a liter, and a car that gets 10 liters per 100 kilometers will use $5 worth. I know that doesn't help at all if it gets 7 liters per 100 kilometers.
That's
but
pretty good for me. I can jot it down and learn by that one.
That's right. If you want to send us a letter, send it to Driver's Seat, Post Office Box 3301, Vancouver, British Columbia, V6B 3Y3. That's Driver's Seat, Post Office Box 3301, Vancouver, British Columbia, V6B 3Y3.
And now it's time to summarize our two test vehicles, starting with the Dodge Ram. Well, I didn't like the high step-up, but I'd live with it. The looks, great. Didn't like them at first, but I love them now. The box features, well, very, very practical indeed. Hauling capacity, excellent, excellent, even in this class. Cab design, that's the very best in the business now. So I've got to give this one a full tank, no question about that at all.
Well, lots of fun to drive, but not near as much fun as my Mazda Miata. A couple of things we didn't like, or I didn't like. The sun visor visibility could be a problem if you're a tall person. I didn't like park brake placement. On the upside, handling was wonderful. There's a lot of feel-good engineering built into the Miata. It's a lot of fun to drive. There's a few more horsepower this time around, and the price is still a pretty good deal, under $25,000. I think it's the only one and true roadster out there, Tony.
Well, you're probably right. Well, you are right. I can't deny that at all, Nancy.
I gave it 7/8 of the tank, by the way, for driving dollar value.
Excellent. Now, next time, I've got a Cadillac Concours, something different from either of the ones we've done on this show.
That's right. Big, huge luxury model. I've got Toyota's sporty little Celica.
Great. Okay, well, that's all for this week, and thanks for tuning in.
Join us next time, and we'll put you in the driver's seat.